BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this program, this Blog Talk radio program about your Kundalini awakening experiences. My name is Chrism, and welcome to this program. And I'm going to go ahead and start out with the understanding of Kundalini and birth control. People are given the opportunity to have children. It's a great honor, and for the most part, the earth is happy to receive the children upon itself. But not everyone is karmically destined to have a child, and the Kundalini will not castigate or punish somebody who has undergone certain kinds of birth control. Certainly not for wearing a condom, which is birth control. And then if you look at the pill, the Kunalini, there's a little more involved with that because it's such a part of the endocrine system. The pill is manipulating the hormones at the same time that the Kundalini is manipulating the hormones. And then we look at, well, what is the quality of sexual expression that this person is having? Do they make a living through sexual expression, or are they a prostitute, or do they are they in some way surviving on this world? I'm not putting judgment in here, by the way. Are they somehow surviving in this world by using sex as a service that they can give to people? Kundalini does not make these kinds of judgments, but karma does sometimes. Kundalini and karma are, of course, very closely connected. Kundalini will control the level of karmic dispensation that a person experiences. But there are very specific leeways with this. Everybody's an individual, and everybody has a different karmic package that they're bringing to the table. And that will determine the level of response that the Kundalini will have. Let me give you an example. It's like you can make love with your partner for an entire year, and unprotected sex, the full Monty, shall we say, and not become pregnant. And then, after that year is up, boom, you get pregnant. And boom, you have to figure out how you're going to deal with that situation. With the abortion issue, the Kundalini, once again, because the consciousness has not set into the fetus, therefore that fetus is not a viability, and it doesn't expect itself to be a viability. If the parents are in a position where they are definitely going to have an abortion, they've made the appointment and they're just waiting for that appointment to come through, a whole different set of teachings comes into the process, a whole different set of taking care of the woman and going through the whole hormonal changes and all of that. It becomes a very, very clear teaching of caring and nurturing and helping and assisting. If they're not having the abortion, then they're having the kid, and then that, of course, continues a whole other level of teaching. And so, with the birth control question, I don't want people to feel that, oh gosh, I've had an abortion, therefore the Kundalini must be angry at me, or I am being judged by God in some way. And this is not true. This is not true. Unless you did it with the intention of being a malevolent person, of murdering that child, just, having the child in order to kill that child, or developing the child in order to kill it. That's a different story. And, people are strange. They are, for the most part, a lot of people in this society and other societies similar to this society in the United States are controlled by entities. And the entities can have people do some of the most bizarre things. And that would be, a bizarre thing that the entities would have a person do to make a child just so that they can kill it. I don't want Kundalini people to think that they are judged because they've had an abortion, or they're being judged because they're using birth control, the RU486 birth control, or using a condom. I would suggest a level of sexual maturity with regard to ejaculation, with regard to having the orgasm, with regard to maintaining a fluidic reservoir, either male or female, within the body, so that the Kundalini can use that fluidic reservoir to pursue its transformation of the individual. And so, in this level, I'm very, very supportive of people having a very controlled and a very disciplined response to the sexual activity that they may be engaging in. Some of the other things that I want to discuss are some of the demon-based or demon-inspired type of activities that I don't know that a Kundalini person could get involved with, but just in case. Well, here's an easy one. The whole bondage, BDSM, I always forget what that stands for. Bondage, BD, domination, sadomasochism. When a person has the Kundalini, the increased sexual interest and stamina that comes along with the Kundalini can propel a person into levels of BDSM or bondage, domination, sadomasochism. And it is an entity-inspired invitation where the entity hooks in to the person's sexual expression, such as an incubi or a succubi or another kind of entity that feeds off of the twisting or torquing or distortion of the sexual expression from a Kundalini person. And whether or not you have Kundalini, just from an individual who is somehow open to that manipulation. And it's important to understand that you don't want to defile the sexual activity or the sexual action of your system, of your body. You don't want to defile it. You don't want an entity ride you into a BDSM environment. You don't want to have your body tied and torqued in these many various ways that they do, and it's it becomes a very, very base environment. People are being hurt. People are tying the orgasm with pain, and creating a circuit juncture where the more pain you feel, the more strong your orgasm is, and vice versa. This is all entity contrived, both on the part of the person that's receiving and on the person that is giving. And this is really not indicated for Kundalini awakened people, even though some Kundalini awakened people will go into these areas, but they go into it without typically understanding the manipulation that the entity forces are giving to them, inviting them into this and tampering with their desire, tampering with the sexual desire itself, and making that a titillation or a fascination that a person would have with receiving that type of treatment. Now this, in some of the tantric areas of ancient India, they would go into some of these areas, the Tantra, the left-hand path of God, the sacred feminine path of God. They would try all the different sensations and, everything with food and different sexual practices, same sex, same gender, sexual practices, the whole bit. They ran the gamut of what you could try to experience with people bonding in that way. And but still, when we get to the Kundalini, we're coming into levels of purity. And as long as you can have contact with your partner or with yourself, and you can be in that sacred space, you can be in that, if you have a mantra, if you can be within that mantra and make that mantra super energized through bonding the mantra with the sexual practice, then a person, I think, can go pretty far with that. But you don't want to do the multi-orgasmic man type of scenario. We're not talking about a cool draw. We're not talking about, the ancient Chinese Taoist practices of learning how to control seminal ejaculation. This is not it at all. What it really is about is focusing the desire and keeping the desire intact, rather than fracturing the desire by virtue of releasing the fluids. And so, it becomes a very strong practice where you're always kind of on the edge of that explosive, blissful, ecstatic, orgasmic moment. This is the true area of grace that the whole celibacy and brahmacharya and all these practices really are striving to get to. It's not about, say the Catholic priest, oh, well, I'm giving my sexual expression to God, or the nuns saying the same thing, or, any of the other practices where you take out the sexual expression. The sexual expression is not to be taken out. It is to be controlled. It is to be disciplined. It is to be taken out of the hands of the ego. And this is a very big deal because, as I mentioned earlier, the Kundalini will dip into that reservoir of reproductive fluids, and that will assist its creation and transformation of the individual that has the Kundalini. And I should probably check to see if I'm making terrible noises here with the chair. Can you hear noises, Santara? Huh. Well, how about Alana Seeker or Michelle or Tejasri?
No, Chrism.
Is
no
the sound
noise.
coming through? Oh, thank you. Okay.
It is, and I've checked in the chat room. Sound is great.
Oh, great. And I think Michelle's going to help me with that too. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate that. So that reservoir is very important. So you're always trying to keep yourself on the edge of, shall we say, capitulation, for lack of a better term. When I was practicing these things, I would always find myself, it had to be a choice. It had to be a choice to release the fluids. And there are various reasons that a person can release the fluids too. It is a renewable resource, but by and large, you want to keep that reservoir active within you unless you have another instruction from your Kundalini. But you don't want to have entity infestation draining it or controlling it. And this is what one of the reasons why I say, never, never, never pay attention to what entities tell you. If you hear your voice being called or your name being called or somebody saying, hey, you're a really brilliant guy, or oh my gosh, you should go, that woman's ready to, just a second here. It's amazing. I'll just turn this thing off. Sorry about that. That was my phone. All right. An entity will say, oh, that woman over there is interested in you. You should go for her. Or man, or, that type of a thing. And you just don't want to respond to these types of invitations. And they will come onto you without your permission as well. They will sit astride you and they will try to manipulate that sacred fluid out of your system. They will do everything they can do to corrupt your sexual expression, and that includes inviting you into various levels of bondage, domination, sadomasochism. And there was a movie a couple years ago called 50 Shades of Grey, and that was really an entity controlled distortion, inviting people into whipping and bondage and these types of things, where you inflict pain upon the individual, and the individual creates a level of emotionally static electrical interest into having pain in order to support an orgasm, or having an orgasm in order to support the pain. And, this is not what I'm going to recommend for a Kundalini awakened or activated individual. I want you to stay away from pornography. I want you to stay away from BDSM. I would rather have you not have sex than to get into these areas, because they are just so thick with discarnate entity corruption. So if you're feeling those urges right now, then really look to what it is you're listening to. Really look to what is being presented to you and change the channel. Make it a point. Change the channel. If you're bored with the sex that you're having with your partner, then try something different. Abstain for a while, and then when you get back together, say, abstain for 2 weeks, get back together for 1 day a month. And learn how to recreate a real appreciation of each other as you explore these sacred areas. Apply a mantra, and instead of having just normal, missionary type sexual expression, make it sacred sexual expression. Apply the mantra, and really suffuse that sexual activity with the mantra, with that intention, and birth that intention by virtue of tying it into the sexual expression. And this is something that can work. This is a form of sacred sexual programming that people can do and can use a mantra with. So I wanted to kind of cover that. It's not something that I cover too often. I think I have covered it in a couple of other programs tangentially, but I wanted to hit it head on here with that. As far as the body goes, whether you're, oral sex or anal sex or vaginal sex, which are basically the three options that a person gets, that's all okay. Various levels of coverage you might want to engage in, but that's all personal choices there. I'm not going to really comment to that. It can really, as long as you're practicing that approach that I'm discussing right now, is where you bring yourself to the edge of the orgasm, but you don't get taken over by the orgasm. Because you can have the difference between dry sex and wet sex is the wet sex is actual penetration, into and the merging of two bodies, whereas dry sex is, kind of doing it through the clothing or non-penetrative sex. You can have the wet sex, you just don't want to have the fluidic expression. Okay? You can have that, just, look to not having the fluidic expression. If you have to have the fluidic expression, well, then tie it to a mantra. Don't waste the opportunity. So if you have any questions about sexual practices in the Kundalini, feel free to call in. Our number is 347-934-0026. Once again, that's 347-934-0026. And feel free to ask about these types of these questions. I'm kind of opening it up so that if you have a question about that, and if you're on the chat room right now, we have a few people on the chat room. Feel free to type in your question as well, and I'll read that on the air. one of the most important things is to really try to steer clear of the incubi and the succubi, corrupting aspects of the entities that will come to a Kundalini awakening or activated individual and begin to manipulate the sexual progress, the sexual interest, the sexual mobility of the individual. And by mobility, I mean literally taking control of the organs of sexual reproduction, and this which is the case with it. They typically come in pairs. You'll have the male or the female, and depending on what gender you are, what gender you relate to, will determine which gender of the incubi or succubi come to you. They're not pretty. They're pretty greasy, pretty kind of like horrible looking. But for the most part, you never see them unless you can see that aspect. I'm able to see that aspect, and so I know what they look like. But for the most part, people generally do not have the ability to see them, and so they only feel the manipulation. They feel the manipulation on the vagina or the penis, and they feel that manipulation within a sexual context. So try to keep your sexual endeavors based in love, based in appreciation, based in sacred levels of joining, sacred levels of merging. Try to be that mirror of Shakti and Shiva, the sacred male and the sacred female merging at the top of the head. When you're having the sex, bring your eyes up, bring your tongue up. You can do the Gyan Mudra, but you can enclose the thumb and forefinger of your partners so that you create a kind of like a chain effect. So you can really begin to bond in a very, very sacred spiritual way with your partner. And this, I will suggest for you, this is something that I think is very beneficial to the whole process and to the health of the people involved. And speaking of being beneficial to the whole process, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my co-host. This is Amelia Centaur or Centaur Kundalini, I forget which. And she is the queen of questionable comforts from the great country of Ireland, and currently she's on the west coast of the Irish island. And welcome to the program, Amelia.
Thank you indeed, Chrism. I'm more on the south coast, though, currently. Yeah.
My mistake.
So good to be here.
So, how have you interacted with this subject?
Well, you see, I'm here going, please don't ask me how I've interacted with this topic.
Talk about a loaded question.
Yeah, I know. I so don't mind discussing my own stuff, but I'm a little bit hesitant to discuss because I'm not anonymous. People can ask questions on the chat room and they're a bit anonymous. I'm a little bit hesitant to speak of the Chrism when it involves myself and my partner.
Well, Michelle brings up a question. She says, what about during lucid dreams? Can you orgasm in them? Well, during the lucid dream, if you can practice, Michelle, if you can practice keeping that mindset intact, that you're going to go right up to the lip of the cliff and not jump off, you can actually practice that during the lucid dream. Because what is a lucid dream? A lucid dream is when your beta brainwave consciousness is inserting its control into your alpha state or your dream state. And so within the lucid dream, you can remember to control the orgasm. But if you can't, if that takes a certain level of practice, certain level of repetition, and a very, very strong intention to make that work. And if you don't have that, and you go ahead and you have the orgasm in the lucid dream, you'll typically also be having that on your physical being as well. And if you're not, well, it's fine because you're not losing the fluid. The fluid is not being tampered with, and so, it's kind of a win-win for the person who's having the lucid dream. So no, you shouldn't hold off. You don't need to hold off with that. If your Kundalini is giving you an opportunity to have a sexual experience within a lucid dream state, well, then and that's something that you want to do, then go right ahead and do it. I think that's fine. Some people will actually kind of induce the lucid dream state so that they can have some sort of a sexual experience, and they'll try to use that as a way to bring them into that ecstatic space, and it as long as it doesn't impact the physical reservoir of reproductive fluids, I think you're in a safe place with that. Thank you, Michelle, for asking that question. Very good question. And I believe we have another question here from Tyra, and I'm coming over to Tyra right now. Hi, Tyra.
Hi, Chrism. How are you?
Hi. I'm doing well, thank you. And you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for your lovely program. I really enjoy it. It's very, very helpful.
Listening.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. What's your question, my dear?
So here is the question, right? For several years, I'm single, and I think when I got divorced, that's where my Kundalini kicked up, which I didn't know. But now I try to settle down in my life, and I try to find a suitable partner. But I see a very similar pattern that as soon as somebody, they will send me interest or whatever to talk or not their phone number, as soon as I accept their request and they see my picture, their interest is completely gone. And I'm not like a gorgeous looking woman. I mean, I'm not a bad looking person, you know what I mean? In my personal life, I always get compliments from men, always friendly, easy to pull a conversation. But when I come to this juncture, I feel like something happens to them and they see my picture, and it's like poof in the air. And they all disappear. And I'm wondering, maybe this is my destiny, or there's something that they're sensing from me. Something is happening here.
Kundalini activated people won't necessarily have the easiest time finding a partner. And a lot of that has to do with the energetic frequency that they live their life at. It's a very, very different frequency than the people that are still sleeping. That's one thing. Now, the other thing is, it sounds to me like you're basing your entire social network on online and going into these matchmaking type of groups instead of getting outside and actively engaging people and in a non-romantic way, like say in a sports capacity or some sort of creativity type of capacity, where you meet people doing something other than participation in a relationship, and you learn to appreciate their qualities that go beyond the looks. A lot of these matchmaking.com type of places, it's really a looks-based marketplace, and I think a Kundalini person is going to want to delve deeper into the experience of a partner and a true partnership, and this like matchmaking.com or these types of areas don't really support that type. And so you've got to go out and you've got to kind of make yourself available in ways that are not overtly sexual or overtly demanding, physical and emotional attention. You'll have like I said, a sporting event is good, or if you have kids, going out and, watching each other's kids, do their thing, if they're having sports or soccer or whatever it is. But you allow people to see the different facets of who you are rather than just looking at your face.
You're absolutely right. It's unfortunately I'm so busy, and I really don't know where to start, how to meet people. I don't have a great circle of friends because after my divorce, everything I had, all of my friends disappeared. So whoever I knew were married, and then my whole background just vanished completely. It's like my life is just my kids, my work, and that's about it. And then sometimes it also makes me wonder that once you're awakened Kundalini, are you supposed to waste your time and energy? Because when you have a partner, you spend so much of energy in sex and all that activity.
You can have a partner and have Kundalini at the same time. The best scenario, of course, is to have a partner that understands that you're having the Kundalini. You don't want to get involved with somebody who's going to, put you in the psych ward because they think you're hearing voices, which you might be hearing. Okay.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Most of the people are like, what is she talking? I mean, not that I have, but I'm very skeptical about even sharing things with people, that how are they going to perceive me, that I'm some kind of a crazy maniac?
Well, typically, I just suggest you don't share those things with people. It's not appropriate for them. It just frightens them, and it frightens them right into a level of judgment about you. And so you don't share those qualities, even with your deepest lover. You don't share qualities that enough about that individual that that's going to frighten them. It's going to make them scared for you, and you nurture that discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You nurture the discipline where you have this secret little world of Kundalini that you're basically viewing your mundane life through now, and the lover is there, and he or she are part of that world, but they're not part of the Kundalini world, and they don't need to really be reminded or to know about it, because the potential for problems, for breaking up or for having you committed, is too great of an issue. There are very good things to be said about just keeping the Kundalini to yourself. One of the problems with that is that in our society, in the Western society, we get this idea that we have to share everything with our partner. Oh my God, honey, there was this piece of dirt that I had under my right big toenail, and it looked like a rabbit. And I had this piece of dirt under my toenail that looked like a rabbit. What do you think, hon? You have to share everything, and I think that's just not appropriate. I think that people need to keep levels of information to themselves, and if nothing else, is to keep the relationship interesting. You don't want to share everything. You don't want to share. It's like, oh yeah, I was sitting on the toilet, and wow, did I have a really interesting experience. You know what? People, unless you're in Ireland, people don't really care about that. Sorry, that was a joke.
So sometimes I think okay, so these things are meant to come to you. The universe tries to connect you. That universe will connect you. So I mean, I just
you said the universe will try to. You're saying the universe will try to connect you? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I said if we are meant to be with someone or get in touch with someone. For example, the way I found you and your chat group, that was unbelievable. I mean, and it only happens when the time is right. I suffered so much for Kundalini, and most of my pain was subsided. But then I ran into you. I found information about you, and you were very helpful. So The other way I sometimes
with Kundalini, it's one thing, because the Kundalini knows that there's such a paucity of information about its expression through the human being in the Western technological cultures. Far more information in the shamanic cultures, far more information in the Sanskriti or the Hindu cultures, even in the Buddhist cultures. But in the Christian cultures of the technological West, very, 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 very little information. And if you do have the Kundalini, then you're more than likely to get committed to a psych ward, or what they used to call the snake pit in the 1920s and 30s, where they would just throw you into this room surrounded by balconies and a circular room, and there you'd be on the floor with all these crazy people, and just kind of milling about, and really kind of sadistic, I think. But that's kind of how Kundalini people have been treated in the Christian West,
right?
For quite a few years, and you don't really, there's, and so she understands that there's a lack of available information, and so she does, interestingly enough, tend to bring people to this program, or bring people to my attention that she wants me to help, and I do. So the Shakti herself will do that. But now I'm talking about you exploring the different aspects of another person. So, exploring their interests, exploring how they react to given stimuli. Like, do they go panicky in an emergency situation, or are they calm and steady? Do they scrape their teeth with their fork? Do they wear deodorant? Do they, how do they live their life? These types of things that people also participate in. And this is something that the Kundalini person can really begin to look at, rather than just going into a monodimensional expression of interest, like, big boobs, wide hips, here we go. You look at, what the person knows, and what the person feels like, and what are their likes, what are their dislikes, and how do they treat animals, and do they like the environment, these types of things, what level of ahimsa do they practice? These types of things that are important to a Kundalini activated or awakening individual can be explored and discussed, and become part of the relationship, part of the attraction. Right. So I would stay off of these Match.com type things, unless you can establish a communication that does indeed explore some of the other options. And I know, they have like a cheat sheet on each person. It's like, oh yes, I'm Sagittarius, and I like long walks on the beach, and I don't like
and they
dogs.
all are same, if you read. So that's why I feel like I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere with this, and most of them are fake.
Right, and so you have to look at that, and you have to really kind of decide for yourself how you want to respond to that type of engagement, and it can work if you ask the right questions. It can work, but you've got to have the wherewithal to ask the right questions, to do your research on a person. So you're on Match.com or something like that. You go, okay, in my desires for the perfect mate, I want they have to be Australian, they have to be a beautiful blonde woman, and they have to live on the Gold Coast. Okay, I don't know who that would be, Michelle, but somebody like that. They have to have these qualifications, right? And so, and then you make contact. I guess the computer sets you up. It's like, oh yes, we have this lovely person that lives in the Gold Coast, and beautiful blonde hair, blah blah blah. And then you hook up, and then you start asking the right questions, and then you can begin to establish something beyond the facial, physical features, and go in depth into the individual. And wouldn't it be a nice surprise to find out that you're actually been drawn to another Kundalini activating individual. Not common, but it does occur. So that's what I would do, Tyra. Yeah, I would look at expanding beyond just the looks based, and actually getting off the computer and going out into the environment, into the social environment, and talking with people and watching them, seeing them. When you go to a club, people are just virtually making love standing up. If you go to a club and people are out there dancing, well, dancing is just a mating ritual, standing up. And you got all the pelvic thrusting, you have all the, adventuresome and fairly conservative type of dancers, and so you can see into a person that way as well. Now, I'm not much for clubbing. I don't enjoy the alcohol or the entities that come with the alcohol.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I don't drink, and I never drank even before, but now I can't even, it's like completely, there's like a lock in my mouth.
I only drink when I visit Ireland. I mean, it's just like, because they don't have water. They have beer.
It's compulsory, you see.
Yeah. I really hate that environment. I never go there, that type. I don't know how that thing works because, yeah. That's amazing.
So try to make a personal, in-person type of assessment of people, and look to see how they comport themselves in public, because the way they are online, it may not be the way they are in public.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
People hide behind a computer screen. They and if you're like me, if you have the looks that are perfect for a radio show rather than a television show, well, then you hide even more behind the computer screen.
You're so funny.
Well, Tyra, thank you for the question, and it's good to hear from you.
Thank you.
This week, my dear. I'm going to put you in the blue, and it's hard for Kundalini people to find a mate. It's very, very, very difficult now. You go on to some of the groups that, like I have, where you have 14, 20,000 people, and depending on how many people are actually posting and reading and whatnot, you can get somewhat of a determination. You can go to their page, you can look at their page, you can see, oh, wow, this is a Kundalini awakened individual, and he's single, and maybe I'll just drop him a message, and I get that a lot from people. Just had one this morning, and they're looking to hook up, and it can be very difficult for people that have the Kundalini that are awakened to find people that are frequency compatible. It's very difficult. Like say for me, if I'm looking for a person, I know that my frequency is so strong and it is so captivating that it will literally start bringing up a person's issues almost immediately, and it makes it somewhat difficult for that person, because all of a sudden they're feeling some of their issues rise to the surface, because the Kundalini will always go for the purification of an individual, always go for purity. Anything that it can do to establish a level of divine purity within its environmental surroundings, including people, including plants and animals, its structures, it will begin to do. That's just the nature of the divine frequency. And so, I have, misactivated Kundalini in front of me, and all of a sudden, she's wondering why she feels so competitive, or why she feels so jealous, or why she's fearful all of a sudden, or why she, any of the various aspects that can occur for a person. And so for me, it becomes a stronger level of just being on my own and by myself and working with people, within a Kundalini context rather than dating them within a Kundalini context. So there. What happens with you, Centaur? You're a married lady.
I'm a married lady. Yeah, Chrism. Even within that context, I knew nothing about Kundalini when I was with John. I'm with him a long, long time. But I think Kundalini certainly knew about us. I mean, when I look back, she knew what she was at. I didn't. But I would agree with you that there's no need for a partner to know. I could not have, and I did not share everything, and I still don't share everything with John, with my husband, because it's just impossible. I just, even sometimes sharing Kundalini stuff with other Kundalini people is difficult. So, because we're all so different, So, no, I think that's wise what you said. Yeah, it's a discipline, you keep it to yourself and you let go of the need to share everything. And within the context of that, you go deeper into the relationship too with Kundalini in lots of ways. For me, Kundalini is the most important relationship, and I don't like putting them in levels of, but really it is, And that does not take away from my relationship as a wife and a friend and a lover. But the relationship with Kundalini is very exclusive as well. So, and I need to keep it that way.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. The exclusivity is a big deal with that. And especially, when you find the right person, I mean, you don't need to continuously play the field either. And so, marriage is a great resource that way, where you have found a person that you can have the Kundalini with, and whether or not you're telling them everything about your process, the support structure is there. The understandings of personal proclivity are there, and from that point of communication, you can really expand your Kundalini awakening, equation tremendously. So anyway, I wanted to touch on this process. I wanted to touch on these areas, and I'm glad, Tyra, that you asked that question. That tied right in with it. So well done, well done. And I'm going to shift the microphone over here to Rosemary Goliath. Now, Rosemary is our Minnesota representative for Kundalini Awakening Systems 1. She's our ambassador for the central area of the United States. And she's also an ex-Mother Superior Catholic nun. And she's here to describe all of the different experiences that nuns have inside of this topic. Hi, Rosemary.
Hello there. No, it's been so long, I certainly wouldn't have all those memories there, but I'm not an expert on this aspect of nuns, sisters, and
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding with you. I didn't mean
know
to make
you are,
trouble.
but I'm thinking of something that I can't say spiritually. It was.
I almost said nun sex, but it sounded like nonsense.
Would be interesting. But there is the training in the beginning that's in the community I was in. The new people being received were seen as brides of Christ. And the ceremony was you came in a bridal dress, floor length and a veil, and you came into the ceremony in that and made some commitments of, not final commitments, but commitment to take on learning the life. And then you walked out over your arms extended, a folded sacred habit, the clothing of the sisters. So
you're suggesting, or at least that ritual is suggesting, that Christ is polyamorous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. OMG.
Yeah, of course. But anyway, that all just came to mind when you asked about that. It's a spiritual relationship, and that's a way. That's the spiritual way of being available to serve others. That's why people didn't marry and to be committed in the way they were. Now,
nice.
We should get to the information you're asking about. Is the seminar in the Twin Cities? It's our fifth one since you started up in 15, yeah. And it is in Mankato. We're very grateful to the hospitality of that city at the American Hotel and Conference Center. And there's a number there, 507-345-8011. You can call to get the special rate for the room that we have. It's right on the edge of the university there, very good location. And I can say also before that, what I'm working on now is places to share about Kundalini, and that includes information about the seminar coming. But globally, as we're talking now, we're inviting anyone from around the world to come. And my information is rosemaryg@usinternet.com. And phone number, my cell number is 651-329-9615. You can call the landline if you'd like, 952-303-6438. And keep us in your good intentions and your energy as well, because there's a lot to put together right now in this month and the months to come. And Chrism will have lots to do before he even gets here, and he's been very generous of your time. Thank you, Chrism, of Skyping with us as we're doing these introductory sessions, Joey and I. And the first one we did was last week and went very well. It was very inspiring to me.
Well, thank you, Joey and Katie, for putting yourselves into the eyes and arms of the public, the general public, and being these ambassadors of the Kundalini grace in this country. So many, many, many thanks and much gratitude for the three of you for doing that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, and I just wanted to say that because that is so close to Halloween, that I'm very gratified to understand that you're willing to rent a nun's costume and become Sister Rosemary Kundalini just for the weekend. What do you think of that? That was very nice of you. Thank you for that offer. I think we'll accept. Anyway, well, thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, and we'll put you back here in the blue and bring Her Holiness Santara up. And I understand that you have collected some questions, my dear.
I have, Chrism, and she is our sister, Rosemary Kundalini.
She is Sister Rosemary Kundalini, Mother Superior.
Absolutely.
As opposed to Mother Inferior.
Yeah. I have gathered some questions, but just before I go to that, I want to give people the website they can go to. If you want to make a donation, listeners, I'd invite you to do that. If you're in a position to make a donation, you can go to www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, or you can go to www.kundalinisafeties.com, and you can donate from either of those sites. Any donation is welcomed. Small donations are welcomed. Large donations are welcomed. They tend to not come very often. So please don't hesitate if your donation is small, because small donations add up and it makes a difference. So if you're in a position to do that, please go ahead to one of those websites and make the donation. It will be well used, and thank you very, very much. So I'm going now to the question.
And now, wait a minute. Now, I've just been kind of corrected by my Kunalini here. She wants me to discuss some other options with regards to the sacred sexual activities that Kundalini people can participate in. And one of those is called Maithuna. That's Maithun, as in Nancy, A. Maithuna. And Maithuna is also called the Yab Yum. So YAB and then YUM position. And when you're in that position, one person is sitting astride the other in an upright seated position. Almost, you could probably do it in easy pose or full lotus. And this would be wet tantra. And I've already explained the difference between dry and wet tantra in this program. So this would be wet tantra, and penetration is achieved. And yet, within this protocol, the man represents sacred male, sacred masculinity, Shiva. And the female represents sacred feminine, Shakti. And these are direct representations, and you understand yourself as either Shiva or Shakti, and you're placing yourself within that purposefully within that context. And as penetration is achieved, the man holds completely still, whereas the woman is the one who moves upon the platform that the Shiva Lingam is providing, for her participation in that merging. And she is the one who moves. The man does not use any kind of thrusting or any kind of movement on that level at all. The people have their tongue tips behind their upper front teeth. Their eyes are up. They're either saying their mantra or they're giving each other loving and passionate dialogue. And this is called the Maithuna or Yab Yum, and it's very, very, very effective. I know that I know of some people that have activated from that position. So that was the one that she really wanted me to bring up for Kundalini people and for people that are in the activated state, to help them kind of go further up the Jacob's ladder of the activation and into a closer resonance with the awakening aspect, and through the sexual process. So there we have it. Thank you for your considerate patience there, Amelia. Go ahead and if you would ask the first question.
Okay, so the first question is, how do you know the differences between chi, prana, and kundalini when you're feeling energy within the body?
Kundalini is intelligent. You can talk to it and it will respond. Chi and prana are not. They don't have that intellectual feature. They're a frequency of life-based resonance within the human being, but Kundalini is a frequency of divine consciousness within the human being, and that's quite a level of separation. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. There's 3 questions from a person here. The first one is, why do I dream that I am lost in an unknown jungle or in mountains?
Well, because you're not sure about what it is you're doing. I mean, if you're on a mountain or you're in the environments, and so you're within the Shakti environment, within the dreamscape, and it's unfamiliar for you to be there. You feel lost. You feel without leadership. You feel without having a reference or a set of reference points where you can chart your course. And so you're going to be placed within that condition until you are able to make reference points. And so I would encourage a person that feels this way to start noticing their surroundings. Look for the color red. Look for the color blue. Use your senses within the dream state and see if you smell the scent of lilacs or roses. see if if you are given any kind of a clue from the Kundalini where she can begin to develop reference points within you, and then you can take these reference points and you can begin to build yourself towards a direction within your equation. Over.
Thank you. The second question: Why am I drinking liquor in dreams, although I quit 16 years ago?
Why am I drinking what?
Liquor.
Liquor.
Liquor, alcohol. Yeah.
Well, that would be partially an egotistic yearning to go back to that lifestyle, and then partly an entity encouragement, an invitation to go back into that lifestyle, running past your sensitivities, the activities and actions that once made you happy, and they're hoping will make you happy once again. Over.
Thank you. And the third question is: I am transferred to an unknown place in my job, although I have retired 8 years ago, and I am afraid to join. That's what's written.
So it's kind of a weird question.
A dream,
so,
again, I think perhaps a dream as the person has retired. I am transferred to an unknown place in my job, although I have retired 8 years ago. I am afraid to join.
Repeat the question.
I am transferred to an... Hello, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Chrism. I am transferred to an unknown place in my job, although I have retired 8 years ago. I am afraid to join.
So this is a dream, or this is in real life?
I'm going to assume it's a dream because he's transferred, and yes, he has retired. So can we assume it's a dream?
Well, yeah. Okay. So if you're assuming it's a dream, the person is transferred into another environment, and if we're going to place it within a Kundalini context, because this is, the show we're doing, then this would represent an activation or an awakening, and that transference is taking him from the mundane platform of living life through the five senses behind the veil to an expanded level of sensorial input, outside of the veil. And this is easily a cause for fear or concern of the ego, which is really only used to interpreting life from the level of the five senses. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. So now the next questions come from the groups. So the first one is it possible to stop this moving energy inside my body?
Yes, it is. It's possible. It's not probable, but it's possible. You could die, and that would stop it. You could... That would stop
I
it.
guess, we're laughing, but I guess some people commit suicide, do they? Would be to stop them. Yeah.
And that only stops it from going in the physical body. You'll still get pounded in the energetic body, even without the physical body. That's why with Kundalini, because it follows you into death, it is a part of your spiritual equation. So spirit and physicality are intrinsically connected. And when you pass into the next expression, that quality of divinity comes with you. And so if it's pounding you right now, trying to get you into a position of, shall we say, greater purity or a greater level of a lack of blockage, then it will continue to pound you in death as well. But as far as stopping the energy, when people ask me about this, I ask them, well, why do you want to do that? Oh, well, I want to go back to living my life the way it was before. It was so much easier, and I knew what to do. And I just say, well, typically you're not going to be able to stop this. And I say the way you can stop it is by acclimating to it. So as you acclimate to the energy, no longer do you have a very, very strong counterproductive force that your ego can compete with through the memory of just having a five sense mundane life expression. Now you've got a 10 senses or 12 senses pull information from, and it creates a very, very different environment. But yeah, I mean, as you acclimate, you don't get pounded as much, and you actually pass through that pounding stage, and you can go on with your life and on with your Kundalini experience. Over.
So Chrism, so for a person, who wants to stop the energy now, how can they change their view? What should they do in order to come into an acclimation of what's happening?
Surrender completely. Surrender completely to what has happened. Yes, in the short term, you're going to get pounded more. But in the not too far away term, your acclimation is going to happen much quicker.
Okay.
Over.
Thanks, Chrism. The next question is, give healings to others can ground us during Kundalini process? ? So, does giving healings to others ground us during our Kundalini process? And should we give healings to others while our own healing process is going on?
Healing can be a grounding activity. Say, for instance, massage. You're a massage technician, right, Amelia?
Yeah, technician. Yeah. I haven't heard that term, but okay. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I do massage.
And
yeah.
when you're kneading that person's back like a bread dough, you're getting somewhat of a workout with it, right?
No, that's not how I massage. I'm actually not. No, Chrism. It's interesting because, no.
Well, do you get grounded when you're doing massage?
I actually sometimes become ungrounded, and I don't know, it depends on how we're defining grounded and ungrounded. I'm grounded in my surrender, and yet I'm ungrounded in other ways when I'm doing my massage. It certainly isn't an activity I would do in order to ground myself. So I wouldn't consciously say, I'll give a massage, in order to ground myself. So I wouldn't make that a choice. And when I'm doing massage, typically the Kundalini does a lot of the massage, I feel, really, so.
Well, with
it's definitely not
work,
grounding.
With healing work, in a Kundalini context, you're running that energy. You're running that energy through your system into the sick person's or the injured person's system, and so you may be touching them behind the back of their head, right at the divot at the base of the skull, corresponding fairly well with the fifth chakra. And you hold your finger there, and she expands and spreads herself inside that individual's physical body and begins to make repairs to that person. Does it ground you? I don't. I mean, whenever I've done it, I do somewhat of a disconnect. I try to take myself out of the equation. So I'd say maybe not. But if I'm giving a massage or something like that, or doing that type of hard work, which is hard work for me because I don't have, Amelia's skill set, she doesn't even have to use her hands. She just gives a massage. And when I give a massage, I have to use my hands. And it does ground me in the work that I'm doing. And because I'm touching that person's body, that alone also grounds me, because the Kundalini will ground me in order to ground that individual. Over.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. The second part of the question was, should we give healings to others while our own healing process is going on?
It's better to heal ourselves first and then give healings to others. Over.
Thanks. Okay, so there was a question, Chrism, is anger related to the throat chakra?
It can be. Yeah. You got to remember, anger is often a spoken emotion, and so when you scream or you yell or you in some way you express yourself emotionally, anger being one of the emotions, that's coming out of your mouth, and that voice is coming from down your throat. So you'll be able to express yourself from that position, as do the many other life forms express themselves from that position. These life forms have an emotional context to them, and this is where they had that opportunity to really express that emotion. Over.
Thank you. You wrote today, Chrism, or yesterday, one of the days, and I'm going to quote you. You said, the muscles of the body can tighten due to continuous excitation of nerves from Kundalini. Nothing is wrong. Breathe and relax. And then a person asked a question under that, and it was, okay, my lower back is so tight since the past 10 days, despite stretching, no relief. Could this be due to Kundalini?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The Kundalini will follow very specific combinations of muscle groups within the system. And combinations will be innervated by the energy. And through that innervation, they can be frozen or locked into a very, very, very tight, almost like at the apex of a seizure type of muscular expression. And nothing is wrong. It's just that, the energy is doing its job. It's uplifting the energetic function of the individual. It's just the individual ego that is so unused to having something like an alien force controlling its body. Well, that's the aspect that develops most of the uneasiness. Over.
Thank you. Is it normal to lose time during this process? I wear a Fitbit to monitor my heart rate, and it also monitors my sleep. Last night it said I was awake from 2:24 a.m. to 3:47, but I don't remember getting up. I lay down this morning at 10 a.m. to take a nap, and I woke up at 1, which 3 hours, but my Fitbit said I didn't sleep until 11:17. I have no memory other than having laid down to nap. So I was curious if it is part of the awakening process, as I have other strange things happen, like voices and seeing things.
Well, that was the golden hour that he was awakened in and probably was moving around in. The golden hour, the first trinity of the day, happens to be a very, very strong point of expression of ki energy or prana energy. And many of the religious orders that go back a few thousand years and recognize Kundalini, such as the Buddhists do it, some of the Hindu-based religions do it, and they're up. They're up at the golden hour of 3 o'clock in the morning. And I know the Kundalini yoga people do this. The people that are very, very focused and directed by Kundalini Yoga, well, they'll be up at 3 o'clock in the morning doing doing some sort of a modified yoga practice. And this is what happened to this gentleman, is because Kundalini recognizes the golden hour, recognizes the level and the quality of the energy in the atmosphere of the time, then she will bring that person, conscious or not, into that atmosphere and outside and into the clean air. Over.
Thank you. How do you know when a chakra has opened?
Well, first of all, you feel it. It's a tactile experience. You feel the ramifications of that mantra. You feel the behaviors and the feelings and some of the qualities of the mantra themselves. As they open up, those qualities leak out and will either find in blockage for the next chakra up, or there will be no blockage. It'll go straight up and open others, in the ascent. So that's basically it. Open.
Thanks, Chrism. The next question is, my adrenals just started to expand. Is there any way to stimulate them now?
They want to stimulate them even further then, huh?
Yeah, well, that's the question, Chrism.
Well, I would say, there are ways, but I wouldn't do it. You let the adrenals and you let the Kundalini handle that. You, as the individual, you detach and allow this work to be done by not going into fear, by not going into control, and by surrendering yourself completely to the divine goddess. That's what you must do. That is the key. That is what will bring you into a greater level of understanding within the society you live in.
Thanks, Chrism. 3 nights ago, I was meditating and I started to feel pressure that felt like dots in the same direction at the center of both my pectoral muscles. This morning, I also heard a faint voice calling my name. After a few minutes of introspection, I responded and the voice said nothing. I told my mom about this voice and she told me it was very dangerous to respond unless I saw what called my name. What do you guys think? Any advice on either?
Well, I would even add to the mother's warning. I mean, unless you saw what caused your name or called your name, and what you saw wasn't an entity, it was like a corporeal person that actually had a voice. This is entities. This is what I tell people to stay away from and to ignore and to not give them any attention. That's all they want. It's a very corrupting influence. And you just want to steer clear of any kind of contact or conversation or acknowledgement of entities whatsoever. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Okay, so you kind of answered this one, but I'll ask it again. Why is my sleeping so dysfunctional lately, sir? Usually I feel my habit of sleep is fairly balanced, having a real issue here lately, and often I can identify this rare occurrence easier than I have been lately.
Did I answer that?
I think so, but I don't have, you see, I take the questions out, so I have no reference in front of me, because again, it's in relation to, I don't know. Again, we are talking here about, well, dysfunctional sleeping is an ego definition, is it, in a Kundalini context?
Dysfunctional sleeping is an ego definition? No, I mean...
Yeah, well, isn't it ego that says it's dysfunctional? From a Kundalini perspective, it's not really dysfunctional, is it, if your sleeping is disrupted?
It's hard to sleep with a lot of energy cruising through your system. It's really hard. I mean, you'll be tossing, you'll be turning, staring at the ceiling, picking up your phone, looking on the internet, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you won't really give your eyes the rest that they need because the energy is so strong, and it can make it very, very difficult to fall asleep. And what I'll suggest people do is just to go into meditation on your back, say the mantra. If you have a mantra, say your mantra, and allow that mantra to take you into sleep if that's at all possible. It's not always possible. Sometimes you're just going to have to toss and turn for a while. Over.
Okay, thanks, Chrism.
Sure.
The Shakti breath of 10 Tibetan breaths, is it a forceful technique to raise Kundalini? Or all of the 10 Tibetan breaths, can they be practiced? Oh, it's badly phrased. Can I just leave the first part of the question? The Shakti breath of 10 Tibetan breaths, is it a forceful technique to raise Kundalini?
No. So just do the 5 Tibetans. That's the vertical pumping. Every Tibetan represents a vertical pumping, pulling the energy from the tailbone straight up through the pelvic girdle, straight into the lower spine, straight up into the various chakras in the spine. And so people just really try to ride on the coattails of a good book or a good technique, and that's what's happening right now. And this, within the context of this question, is somebody made some moves and called them, well, hey, gosh, I got a great name for this. The 10 Tibetans. What do you think? I think that'll work. What do you think, Amelia?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
They'll make it up, and it becomes a very commercial thing.
Okay, thanks, Chrism. And this is from a regular caller. She wrote this on the group. She says, on a road trip to Ottawa, Ontario, she visited the Canadian Mint, where they make coined money. Would pure gold and silver have an effect on my Kundalini energy? To me, it had a calming effect. Does this sound right, Chrism?
You'll have a whole slew of different responses to that. She had a fairly relaxing experience with that. The next person over may not. So, I would hate to come across as absolutist in saying that, everybody's going to feel the same thing, because they won't. They'll be very individual with it. Silver and gold are good. They're healthy to have for the Kunalini, the gold meaning the sacred male, the silver meaning the sacred goddess. So that equation is a workable, doable equation, and and can be really enjoyed. Hello?
Over? I keep waiting for you to say over. I didn't hear you.
Did.
Okay.
I said it, yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear it. Okay, so I'm wondering about this. The question is, I knew a woman who was very unscrupulous, but I'd say her powers were very advanced. I could be wrong, but knowing her made me realize that you can attain truth even without being good. Even Lucifer quoted scripture, right? So maybe knowledge of these things is completely neutral, and free will is simply about your choice and how to apply that knowledge. Yes? No? Question.
Well, using Lucifer as an example implies that you're following the Christian faith. And, who is Lucifer to a Buddhist? Who is Lucifer to a shaman? They're using Christian terminologies to describe something that has far more of a universal or multiversal aspect. So, yeah, you can be a challenging person, and you can have the special skills and still be that challenging person to people's peace and to people's understandings of life. And the individual that's asking the question, she's coming into it with very definite expectations on what a nice person is and what a person who has great power, how they should be, and he or she is coming into this with a definite preconceived idea of what they're expecting, and then that person doesn't live up to that expectation, and so judgment is rendered. And I'm suggesting no. Sometimes we need the petty tyrant aspect of individuals to allow us to go and to move into the next level. Sometimes we need to be castigated or stressed in some way in order to move up to the next level. And so I am loath to make a judgment of an individual that is doing challenging things unless I can see that the test isn't as much for me as it is for them, and maybe they require my shall we say a more electrical response, from me. If they're really bothering me, or if they're doing something to me, and my tolerance levels aren't covering it, well, then I'll just tell them to knock it off. Or if they have, special skill sets, well then, special skill sets need to be used in special ways. And if they don't use them in special ways, well, they can incur a karmic whiplash that can occur for people that are abusing sacred skills. Over.
Thanks. I got that. Thank you. Kundalini heals and completes. Kundalini heals and complete past samsaras and leads one to unconditional love and bliss. Isn't that right?
No, it's not. We heal our own samskaras. We heal those. That is
what
a
are
karmic,
samsaras, Chrism?
pre-existing karmic conditions that require redemption.
Okay.
And so we have to clear those. That's one of those fantasy expectations that people in the Hindu faith harbor. It's like, you'll never have to be reborn into a body again if you get the Kundalini, and all your samskaras are taken care of, and we don't have to do anything because the Kunalini will just heal it all. No. I mean, it would be nice if it worked that way, but it just doesn't work that way at all. We have to take care of our debts, and these are karmic debts, and so the Kundalini's not going to come in there and just start wiping out your karma because you've got Kundalini. If anything, it's going to bring more karma up to be dealt with. Okay. So no, I disagree with the intent of that paragraph. Kundalini isn't the cure-all that people would love it to be. It will help you to work hard at healing yourself. It'll definitely aid and abet you in that way, but it's not going to just, lift its finger and just, touch its nose, twinkle, 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 and there go all your samskaras. Not going to happen. Over.
Okay, thank you. I had a very profound dream last night. While I was trying to save a person, the person was male and female both, I think, I was doing CPR, also mouth breathing. I did all the efforts to save the person, very deep experience for me. Before this incident in the dream, I was with a group of acquaintances and I saw multiple moons in the sky amongst clouded sky. I told everyone to have a look at the multiple moons, but no one could see them. Only I was able to see the scene and everyone thought I was crazy. Trying to figure out the message behind this, as Kundalini always puts something in for a reason.
Well, the sacred feminine would be the moon in the sky, and the various positions of the moon would be various actions or activities of the sacred feminine upon the illness of the individual and healing the individual. So this would be a kind of a description of their Kundalini equation and how the sacred feminine will come in and express a level of healing upon it. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Do you can you never seek pleasure if you're Kundalini active?
Say again, repeat that one.
Can you never seek pleasure if you're Kundalini active?
Oh, no, you can seek pleasure all the time. Absolutely. Pleasure does not end because you're active or awakened with Kundalini. It actually increases. And so, yes, definitely. Over.
I think I've finished. I'm scrolling down because I think I am actually. Let me just double check. There was a good few questions there.
That's fine. That's fine. And so,
yeah.
If we have any, looks like Vicky might be typing a question. Vicky asks, does one who is awakened to Kundalini heal our soul group and help with their karma? Well, okay, you're assuming that you have a soul group. You're assuming that's a correct description of what is going on outside of the body, outside of the veil. I know that Kundalini has great capacity to bring levels of divine energy into any equation, and that would always, I think, constitute a level of healing. So I would say so, Vicky, and then and yes, definitely help the karma, help it, not cure it. You still have to go in and find that redemption and live that redemption. And Vicky continues, my father came to me in a dream, and to make a long story short, he told me he was okay and that I was the one that was going to help this family. This was years ago, and I was in a religion at the time and could not speak to anyone about this very vivid dream. I see. And, well, yeah, I mean, you won't always be able to talk about it. And the fact that your father came to you in the dream, well, I would suggest is an actual visit from your father, Key, and I would whatever you're doing to help the family, then just continue to do it. Just continue to do it. Over. Any more questions there?
Well, I did find one which is connected into the question there that Vicky asked you, because it says, oh Lordy Lord, where did I put it? 2 seconds. Oh yeah. I'm curious about soulmates in a Kundalini context. What does it mean for soulmates that have been activated or awakened as far as their journey? I know that there are different kinds of soulmates and karma to work on. I also know Kundalini is part of that process. How is this different if only one is activated or awakened, and how may this affect the other person?
Well, it can affect the other person in multiple ways. They can get jealous of it. They can get competitive about it. They can feel left out. They can feel like the active person is oh so special, and it can put the relationship out of balance. It can also add a level of nurturing and understanding that will help the relationship. But my experience of those things through students has been that it typically fractures the relationship and ends the relationship. And that's been my experience with it. Over.
Okay, and there's one more. Ever since 2014, I hear white noise at times in my left ear, or I'll hear music playing. Sometimes I'll hear energy up the left side of my head and down the right side. And it's weird. What is this?
Repeat the question.
Ever since 2014, I hear white noise at times in my left ear, or I'll hear music playing. Sometimes I'll hear energy go up the left side of my head and down the right. It's weird.
Yes.
What is it?
All right. That's a horseshoe activation with levels of clairaudience being developed in the left ear. And typically those activations will go from the left big toe to the left palm of the foot, up the ankle, knees, hips, and arms and shoulders, and then cross over horizontally over the head and then down the right side, covering almost virtually the same areas. And it's called a horseshoe activation. And there are levels of transformation and gifting that are being done on the left side. Over.
And Chrism, the left toe, the big toenail that gets discolored.
Yeah, the black big toe.
Is that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Is that
Oh, sure.
an indication as well?
Yes, indeed.
Of an activation? Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. That's it then. No more questions.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, looks like we're out of questions for this edition. So I'd like to thank everybody who is in the chat room. Hello, everyone there. I would like to thank everybody who has called in, and Rosemary and Tyra and Joey and Santara. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Any last words, Santara?
No last words, Chrism.
Okay, all right then. Well, I'm going to bid you all a fond farewell, letting you know that you can reach this information also on the YouTube channel at chrism.kundalini, Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at yahoogroups.com. We also have Kundalini Healing at yahoogroups.com, Kundalini Awakening exclamation point, Kundalini Awakening Systems 1, and then Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, and Kundalini Awakening Systems 3. We also have a group called Kundalini People. We have public and private healing communities, and I want to extend an invitation for any and all of you to participate in those areas. And I want to thank you for listening. I'd like to thank the current people that are here right now, but also the future people, the people that are accessing this through the archives. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Amelia, for providing this platform for Kundalini understandings and information to be given into the general public. I started it. Here we go.